Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
We have a gentleman on the line by the name of Greg Champion, coincidentally. Champs, good morning and welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show.
Couldn't be happier to be here. Highlight of my life.
Yeah, good man. You Coodabeen. You always know the right thing to say just at the right time. The season has started. You've been a little bit absent from the group in that you're doing the other part of your life that people forget about is where it all started. You're just a great musician and versatile musician that do a lot more than just do footy ditties. And you're doing the circuits of the festivals, which is, I guess, a lot of fun for you.
Yeah, it's not really a circuit, but you know what? The Victorian festival circuit falls into March because they cram them in before the weather turns deadly. So it just happens to be. It's not usually like this at all. There's 3 and 4 weeks. One of them was held over from COVID last year. That was Penola, but the other two, Casterton and Creswick, one 2 weeks ago, one next week.
Champs, with this particular festival, I guess there's people there that do follow the footy, but generally they're following the music. Do you get people in the crowds screaming out for sing us one about Dermy, or are they there to listen to the other part of your music life?
That is a very good question. I think that's a fantastic question, buddy. 9 out of 10 for the question. Because you go to Tamworth, you can fairly well forget about doing footy, but you can slip in a little bit of Collingwood bashing. You go to Casterton, Western District, Cats have won a flag. There's plenty of people, in fact, you may be a comfortable majority who are very happy or almost insistent to hear footy songs. So some festivals, no. Some, especially Victorian ones, yep.
Yeah, and I know that you enjoy doing them in the place, but I detected the night that I last saw you live in Winchelsea, it was an opportunity to do some other stuff, which you clearly enjoy. Is sometimes the footy stuff a bit of a burden to you?
Long ago, in fact, a very wise friend, James Black, he said to me, there's a gap between what you want to be and what you are, although there often can be, or be aware of the gap between what you want to be and what you are. So you've got to, I beg your pardon, because I get a croaky voice in the mornings, you've got to embrace what you might be and what people want. So one must never resent expectation of football or humour, and so if you want to slip in, and then I get a few mentors saying to me, you should be comfortable doing your straight songs and don't ever shy away from them. So you find the balance between giving people what they want, embracing maybe what you are, embracing the humour in football, and slipping in the other styles of music or the straight songs when and where you can.
So, Greg, take us back. It's Neil. We haven't spoken yet. Good morning to you. Go back to where it all started. You picked up a guitar for the first time. What sort of pop star were you going to be? Were you going to be a Beatles kind of guy? Were you going to be a country and western singer? Were you going to be a parody writer? What sort of music did you set out on your path to take?
Mum got us a guitar at 10 for Christmas, and she got me some lessons. I just plodded along. I don't recall having any ambition in my teens to, this is my destiny, my future. So I plodded along. I taught myself songs in the bedroom at 13, 14, so I must have had some ability, because the guitar lessons stopped early. I had piano lessons at 9. That helped set up for 6 months. I think that's helped set up some theory knowledge. And then I taught myself in the bedroom, and Mum would bring home sheet music at 13, 14. And then when I joined university, the very first thing I did was join the folk club. I don't recall any being ambition to be a full-time muso. I just followed I just got on the train and rode it until it fell off the tracks.
It is interesting, the broad spectrum of stuff, because you had been in, I suppose, rock bands at some stage. You do that folky stuff really well, but in amongst it all, you do storytelling. Is that something you enjoy?
Well, that takes me back to your previous question, which I probably didn't answer. What style of music were you drawn to? I think you might have asked.
Yeah.
And I'll answer that in two ways without answering your question. And that is, at 13, 14, yes, Mum was Seekers. The Seekers were strong, and I really did enjoy the Seekers at 13 and 14. And Mum, whatever Mum was playing on vinyl on the stereogram, and Mum played piano. She had a piano upright, and she could read music and play piano. So folk was, and at 15, 16, Dylan and Peter, Paul and Mary, they were strong for me. And it was only about 16, 17 that I started to get into electric music. And just to finish off this answer, I got into an acoustic duo at 17, 18, and that became a trio, and that became a 4-0, and that became a 5-0, and then we found ourselves playing in pubs and playing Eagles material, who were fresh and new and exciting. And then, of course, you switch across to a semi-acoustic with F-holes, because it's, it's an electric but not quite electric. It's some acknowledgement to acoustic, although very vague. And so by 21, 2, 3, 4, you find yourself playing rock in pubs. And then after a while, this is a long answer to not necessarily what you asked. And then, when you get to about mid-20s, 30, you find yourself drifting back towards acoustic music, and that's kind of where it stayed.
Yeah, and you seem to be in a very comfortable spot there. I enjoy what you've done in that space. As far as writing music, do you still... You do the footy stuff in the winter sort of because you have to. You have to produce 4 or 5 a week, and you get help from your wonderful audience to do that. But there is an imaginary, I've got to produce this. But if you were writing a song to make Greg Champion happy, do you still get time to do that?
Well, yes, I do. And you know what? I just put out CD number 40 a week ago.
So you're having a crack.
And maybe half of them, roughly half, would be sport themed. They'd either be footy, a little bit of cricket, or humour themed, and roughly the other 20 would be straight music. And even on the straight CDs, you do get a percentage, a few humour songs.
But do you
what was the question? Because did I answer it?
No, well, sort of. It's just the songs that, let's take the sport theme out, the songs that you, as a genuine musician, you're writing a serious musical piece, maybe with a story attached to it that isn't connected to your best-known theme of doing footy stuff. What makes Greg Champion happy when he's writing a song?
These are great questions, and you're the best interviewer I've ever had.
Thank you very much. Cove will be happy to hear you say that.
Who would be?
Ian Cover, he'll be listening.
Yeah, Cove would. So now I've got to try and bring your questions back. One, how do you write football ditties for the footy show, and you write straight songs at other times? And so when it's football ditties, I'm in such a routine. It's 41 years. I'm in such a groove with it, if you dare I say, may I say, that there's a routine there. You go through the listeners' ideas. Sometimes you get your own. Writing a parody, may I say to you that if you have to write 3, 4, 5, 6 fresh songs each week, parodies, you sure do get good practice at lyric writing. That routine for 40 years, in half the season, half the year, that's footy season, that gets you into a groove with writing lyrics. Oh, yeah. Now, the other half of your question, when you're not writing footy parodies, there's a different approach. And 50-50, and this one's just as strong in my life, or stronger. And that's, you get ideas for songs that aren't about footy, and you're writing the music in this case, as well as the lyrics. And I've kept on doing it all my life, and that's why I've just put out CD number 40 or 20th original music CD, not parodies. And you just get ideas for songs and you write them, and then you take them to the studio. And I've got a handy studio just around the corner here in Montmorency, oddly enough. And you put them down. That's kind of that simple.
Because I would have thought, we've spoken to a lot of people who write their own music, and the question, the age-old question, does the music come first or does the lyrics come first? And the answer is sometimes both. And I guess when it's a parody song, it's fairly evident which comes first because you've already got the music. And in some cases, I guess there's people who have been playing around with the words themselves anyway. But I suspect that whole coming into the footy season, you'd probably have to do a bit of a pre-season to get yourself back into that groove. So, is that what has to happen? Or do you work yourself into it?
Not in the slightest.
Excellent.
Not in the slightest. I've had a saying for the last 10 years: the footy season can't come slow enough, because it puts me onto a bit of a weekly treadmill of having to produce football parodies.
Yeah.
And maybe around 5 years ago, I started thinking, well, is that enough? Can I pull the plug on this? But certain forces sort of combine to keep you doing it. One of them is a lot of listeners tell you you're not allowed to quit.
Yeah.
So that's maybe the strongest reason that you keep doing it. Now, having said that, I've lost the thread of the question again.
No, it's quite all right. Let's change tack to a thing that's interested me for a long time, and that is copyright. And the reason one of your songs is connected to a sponsorship announcement on the station with our good friend Wayne Carroll, who operates Geelong Line Marking, and I'm tipping you'll know which particular football song of yours is used in that ad, and Cove's threatened legal action on many occasions. But every Saturday morning you cover, or Saturday afternoon now, Friday afternoon, you cover 4 or 5 songs. Do you have to pay copyright on every one of those tunes every week when you do a parody?
First of all, I don't know what song you're referring to in wine industry. Is it Heath Titcheraz or something else?
No, it's the Wichita lineman, or the Witchy Proof lineman in this particular case that supports the Geelong line marking, and it causes a lot of humour around. And Wayne tells me the check's in the mail, champs.
Oh, no, look, I'm not at all concerned about any of that. Witchy Proof lineman, good fun. Obviously, I don't own the tune. The short answer to your copyright question is this, and it's quite complex, but let's make it brutally sweet in under a minute. Technically, I think you're not allowed to do it, but they don't police it. If you're going to make a profit from something, that's different. They might come for you.
Yep.
If you make big bucks on something, and it did happen to us with Aussie Christmas with Bucko and Champs, they may well come for you. If there's not a big pool of money that's being grabbed, they won't really come for you. It's a grey area, the copyright area, and the ownership. And basically, I've been singing the parodies on air, willy-nilly, scot-free for the 41 years in my case, and without trouble. There's no profit being made by me. So that's a very brief summation of the copyright law.
And a very good one, thank you very much, because it did bewilder me thinking that you'd be writing out 5 checks a week to American songwriters, because you do cover a few off.
Look, it's around 8 each week, 7 or 8 songs each week. Now, they're not all fresh. So the fresh content can be between 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sometimes all 6 and 7. You know, average fresh ones each week, all right, 3 or 4. No. And the rest you backfill because there's 4,000 or 5,000 parodies in the past. Cove rather graciously calls them heritage.
Retro.
He more or less said to me, because he's got a sharp mind for radio for everything, and he more or less said to me, you should have a quota of heritage each week.
Yeah,
works for me. And speaking of the aforementioned group, of course, the most famous of all being Fleetwood Mac, where they said to Mick Fleetwood and John McVie, we'll name the band after you. Any truth in the rumour that the Coodabeen champions were going to be called the Coodabeens, and you said, unless you call them champion, I'll not play them?
No, none whatsoever. Had their name before I joined.
Just on that, Greg, the boys will be the ones who tell you most that you are probably not as connected to the great Australian game as the other fellas in the group. Over the journey of writing songs about footy and connecting to the superstars of the game, what is your view of Australian rules football as a musician who seems to be dragged into it rather than a passionate football supporter?
No, that'd be inaccurate. I'm just about as passionate as the rest of the Coodabeens. I played 10 years of football. I don't think any other Coodabeen did that.
That's a good point. Mm.
I played 6 years at grammar school, and where we were unbeaten 3 times, and I played 4 years of AMOs. So I'm possibly more into football than the rest of them.
Well, their attacks on you are then ill-founded.
Well, I don't know that they do attack me, or if they have, I haven't really noticed.
Well, maybe it's just your connection to the Adelaide Crows that they might take as is less than totally passionate. But it's an interesting dynamic between the group, and we love it, of course. We've been listening to it for so long. Do you still enjoy doing it?
Well, if the answer, you get that, asked that a bit. The answer is if you didn't, it would show.
Yeah, and it doesn't show, so that's a good answer.
Mate, it's about having fun. It's about trying to make each other laugh. It's about amusing each other, getting together, having a chuckle. Now, we've managed to keep that idea fresh, and we've managed to keep each other amused. That's, in a way, it's that simple.
Because I think, listening to it, obviously we weren't able to listen to all of it because when you were on the Saturday morning, we were actually head-to-head in the showdown, if you will. And, we sort of caught patches of it more so than hearing it regularly. But I think that in my head, there's a great mix between what we could describe as vintage and that which is fresh. So some of the characters, Stan the statistician guy who likes facts and figures, has been around since Adam played on the halfback flank for Jerusalem, but there's the new stuff coming through as well. Getting that blend right must be good.
Getting the what right?
The blend of the vintage and the new.
Oh, well, our youth policy is young Andy. He's half our age. And apart from that, as Cobra says, you've got to get games into the kids. But that's the whole youth policy there in one person. So he's brought some fresh stuff. And apart from that, in a sense, we stumble on doing the same old stuff, in a way.
One of our listeners has just sent a text through, Champs, reminding me that another friend of the show, a gentleman by the name of John Burt, who is genuine football royalty, may have had some influence on your football career.
Well, it was, shall we say it's a fluke and a coincidence, but Mr. Burt was, he went to Sample to coach West Torrens, and he also landed himself a teacher at Pulteney Grammar. And we heard that this Mr. Burt, he happened to be, at the time, I was playing under 13 Bs. That was the last time I played in the Bs. The first 18 we were unbeaten. But Johnny Burt was coaching the under 13 Bs, and then he was going on the Saturday morning at 8 a.m, and he was going off and getting changed and running out and leading West Torrens.
That did you at the age of 12 or 13? Did you realise the enormity of that? Because that's quite staggering even to think of now, even though we're going back to the 70s.
Well, for a start, Adelaide culture, Adelaide. Whilst we watched Drew Morford, what was the name of his show?
The Winners.
The Winners. While we watched The Winners with some passion, it was Adelaide, it wasn't Melbourne. So John Bird's royalty factor, no, it was a little lost on us. But he got respect. He was a teacher at the grammar school, and he seemed a nice chap. And I've met him many times since, and we reminisce about it fondly.
Yeah, he is a very, very good human being, that one, and still giving back to the game that he's loved. It's been a great impact on his life, and he loves experiences like that. When I'm talking to you next, I must mention Greg Champion. I hadn't realised that until our listener just texted that through. That's good.
The most impressive thing is that we've got a listener who knows how to use a phone. That's that's something of an achievement. Greg, we are going to tell people about where they can see you performing over the next little while. Next week, that is March the 31st through to April the 2nd, it's the Creswick Music Festival. Which particular day are you on, do you know?
Yeah, as there should be. There's a spot Friday night, a spot Saturday, and a spot Sunday.
Oh, you'll be all over the place. And then on April the 23rd, Coburg RSL with the Useful Members of Society.
That's back to, I still do the rock band thing from the early 20s because I still love it, and I've played with some Australian music royalty. We've had two Daddy Cools, we've had Ross Hannaford and Wayne Duncan, and Wayne Burt is the incumbent lead guitarist, and Mark Ferry's on bass. They're all rock royalty, Australian rock.
Absolutely they are.
So I still do that for enjoyment, and that's what we'll do at Coburg RSL.
And then later in the year, there's a function, obviously, we won't talk too much about. You're at the Albert Park Port Lounge with Christian Mizzi in May. Up at Kerrang for a public concert in June, and back to Heatherton at the Arco Bar with Christian Mizzi again. You better tell us a bit about Christian.
Christian Mizzi is an absolute world force. He's a world-class singer-songwriter and also a world-class gentleman and human being, and he has got a beautiful voice, quite like Neil Young's, and he's a fabulous songwriter who's had plenty of interest from Nashville and internationally. I'm very privileged to duet with him as when we can.
Sounds good. Now, I got that information from the website, which unsurprisingly is gregchampion.com.au.
Yes, it is.
So you'll be able to get on there and find out more about it. The song we're going to play to send you on your way, Greg, is a fun song done with Jim Haynes and Ted Egan. It's a song called Don't Call Wagga Wagga Wagga, which I just think is an hysterical, funny song. Tell us a bit about where that came from.
Yeah, what was that about hysterical? I've just missed that phrase.
I just think the name Don't Call Wagga 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 is hysterical. The whole song is funny. Where did that come from?
Jim Haynes had the idea, and he asked me to sort of help put it together. Then we recruited Ted Egan to sing on it as well. Jim Haynes was writing in the Australiana, Tamworth type country scene, and performing, and that one got to number 2 on the country chart, and it got us a nomination at the Golden Guitars in Collaboration, but we didn't take the gong home.
Well, it is going to take the ultimate gong home, Greg, because it's going to be played on the Two Blokes Chatting radio show. You said you hadn't played with the B team since the under-13s. Well, congratulations, you have this morning. It's great. It's been great to have you on, and thanks for joining us.
Maybe that's what you should call your program.
We amusingly refer to your program as the Six Blokes Chatting, but Cove doesn't like that very much.
Well, 7. There's 7 of us now.
7? Oh, well, that's why he doesn't like it. We're leaving him out. Greg Champion, thanks for being part of it.
See you, mate. Thank you, gentlemen. Bye.
Cheers.